Commentators are predicting that Bitcoin bulls won't have to wait long for the United States to resume money printing. One market strategist believes that quantitative tightening will come to a stop in order to prevent a, quote, catastrophic debt catastrophe as a result of the most recent examination of U.S. macroeconomic data. Since the United States was founded, there have been arguments surrounding its debt. In this video, we're going to talk about how the United States government got into this debt situation and what it's going to do to deal with it. So without any further delay, let's get started. In order to combat inflation, the United States Federal Reserve keeps draining liquidity from the banking sector, undoing years of COVID-19 era money printing. While the size of the interest rate increases appears to be decreasing, some people are thinking that the Fed may soon have no choice but to stop the process completely. Henrik posted a graph of interest payments on current U.S. government spending, which is quickly approaching $1 trillion annually. The United States federal debt is now above $31 trillion in total, which is a staggering amount. And the Fed has been creating trillions of dollars since March 2020. Henrik has reported a 42% rise in interest payments since that time. Other crypto communities have taken note of the phenomenon as well. Popular Twitter account Wall Street Silver contrasted interest payments to the amount of money collected in taxes in the United States. For individuals who have considerable exposure to Bitcoin, such a scenario might be music to their ears. The mainstream investing industry has seen greater desire for risk assets during times of easy liquidity. A pivot from interest rate rises is therefore viewed by many as the first indication of the good times returning. The Fed's withdrawal of that strategy coincided with the bear market in Bitcoin that began back in 2022. It's worth noting that the only 2 years in United States history when they accumulated no debt was when Andrew Jackson was president right before the Panic of 1837, as he tried to destabilize the financial system. Debate on lifting the debt ceiling, which is how much money the Treasury is permitted to borrow to pay its payments, has been more heated in recent years as the national debt has gotten bigger. The nation's debt now stands at $31.4 trillion. So here's the situation. There is no doubting that the debt's enormity is concerning, and not simply because $31 trillion and beyond is a staggering sum, which it is. The debt is frequently evaluated by economists as a proportion of the U.S. economy's overall gross domestic product, or GDP. According to official statistics, the debt is around 120% of GDP after expenditures for the pandemic recovery. This means that the United States government is spending more money than it's able to produce. Although the amount of debt is historically high, higher than even after World War II, there is a disagreement about whether or not it should be a concern. The Treasury Department's equivalent of shifting money around to cover interest payments, their so-called extraordinary measures, will allow Congress and President Joe Biden until roughly June to reach a consensus on how to lift the debt ceiling. However, there's a large percentage of Republican lawmakers that may be willing to allow the country to default by not increasing the debt ceiling at all, and Biden seems unlikely to enact the kinds of spending cuts that would satisfy them to make a deal. While there are plenty of political hints about how this showdown will play out from other recent debt standoffs, there are also reasons to believe that this time could be different. Recent significant expenditure and debt crises in 1995 and 2011 happened under administrations of Democratic presidents who lost control of the House to Republicans. It just so happens we're in that identical scenario right now, albeit with a weaker GOP majority than was previously enjoyed by former House Speakers John Boehner in 2011 and 12 and Newt Gingrich in 1995 and 96. These earlier instances can be used as a preview of what's most likely in store when it comes to current Speaker Kevin McCarthy attempting to coerce Biden into making a budget reduction. At one point, then-President Bill Clinton charged Gingrich with extortion over spending and rejected raising the debt ceiling. After a different spending measure was passed, they eventually decided to increase the debt ceiling. Before the tech bubble had burst, they also clasped hands over balancing the government budget with the aid of budget cutbacks in a booming U.S. economy. The brief period of the balanced budget was terminated by tax cuts and the post-9/11 wars implemented by Clinton's successor, George W. Bush. Another narrative will cover the fact that the national debt at the time was hardly impacted by the balanced budget. Clinton advised the president to use the 14th Amendment's new power during successive debt standoffs under the Obama administration, and to simply exclude Congress from the debt ceiling discussion. Beginning in 2011, when the debt ceiling was around $16 trillion, or just roughly half of what it is today, John Boehner and then President Barack Obama fought over spending and the debt ceiling for years. As a way to induce and negotiate a larger deal to manage deficit spending, Boehner and Obama agreed to an across-the-board expenditure cutback. However, they were unable to reach that larger agreement before Boehner was forced out of the speakership and Obama departed office. It took years for politicians to eventually abolish the system of spending limitation since it was an unpopular option. Meanwhile, the U.S. credit rating was reduced by Standard & Poor's from AAA to AA+ in 2011, when the nation came dangerously close to defaulting. That alerted other countries that the United States, long regarded as the safest location in the world to put money, would not be able to pay back its debts. Other major rating agencies warned about the debt ceiling crisis but never lowered the U.S. credit rating. The stock market momentarily fell as a result of the S&P's decision. Then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell came up with an original idea. Unless both houses of Congress voted to overturn the president's decision, the president may raise the debt. That approach was used in 2013. For the first time, lawmakers chose to suspend the debt ceiling in 2013 as opposed to raising it. The debt ceiling was frequently suspended throughout the Obama and Trump administrations, and unrelenting spending disputes frequently resulted in partial government shutdowns. Republicans once again insisted on lifting the debt ceiling rather than suspending it once Biden assumed office in 2021. Even under Republican administrations, Democrats have shown little interest in leveraging the debt ceiling to pass legislation. The Gephardt rule, named for the late Representative Richard Gephardt, was used by the administrations of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush to automatically link the debt ceiling to spending measures. Despite tax cuts and costly wars that also fueled deficit spending in more recent years when they controlled the House in 2007 to 2010 and 2019 to 22, Democrats fought to lift the debt ceiling when necessary under then-Presidents George W. Bush and Donald Trump. And Republicans haven't raised the debt as much as when there's a Republican president like Trump in office, even if he's currently urging his party to do it in order to put pressure on Biden to make spending cutbacks. There will finally be some type of consensus for some kind of budget reduction if the precedents from 1995 and 2011 are any indication. And when the Treasury Department uses up its exceptional measures, which might not run out until June, the drama will go on for months. Government financing for the year doesn't run out until the end of September. The debt ceiling and government financing have frequently been addressed jointly. In any case, 2023 appears to be a year that will emphasize debt and expenditure. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, then share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video informative and exciting, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more engaging content like this. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take care everyone.